So hi, welcome back to the Pop and Wrestling Podcast with Miko 23, where we talk about pro wrestling, pop culture, and life in general. So yeah, it's not that I forgot to do this episode earlier and do an NXT review, but I'll just go to the brief happenings in NXT. It's not that I didn't find NXT earlier interesting. I still think that the show flow is still great, for a 2 hour show. The bits and pieces are there. Show structure is there as well. But brief highlights, Rancy Claire rounded up the Iron Survivor participants this Friday for the women's division, and Eddie Thorpe won the last chance or wild card for the men's Iron Survivor match. Then Eric Bishop came out, made Trick Williams Ridge Holland a little bit interesting for the next 4 days or so. But yeah, it was a great, okay, great, good, almost great show. Probably will give the prediction either this Thursday, tomorrow, or Friday show here in Manila. So yeah. But right now we are here to talk about this picture. It's supposed to be an Arrowverse, but there's no green arrow for some reason. But the thing is, yeah, I don't know why I chose this picture, but yeah, you're seeing Black Lightning, Flash, Stargirl, uh, Sarah Lance, Superman, Batwoman, and Supergirl. So we're here to talk about the brief history of the Arrowverse, its culture, pop culture impact, or so. And yeah, we're about to say goodbye to them. So way back earlier, if can correct me if I'm wrong, but way back in early 2000, there's this network, UPN network, uh, which also for a brief period of time produced, SmackDown for WWE way back it was WWF. But yeah, so UPN network really created a TV show called Smallville, which, to be fair, frankly, Warner Brothers at the time they said that Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman were like the untouchables in terms of being TV programs. Of course, cartoons, the animation, Batman the animated series, Superman, the animated series, Justice League Unlimited. Those are cartoons. For live action back then, most Warner Brothers executives say no, don't touch Superman. But in a weird way, mid 90s or early 90s to mid 90s, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman was in TV, starring Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. Then it did well, but afterwards, it got canceled. Then I guess the pitch of the showrunners, I believe Miles Miller, no, Miller and Go. I can just go with that. Two showrunners pitched, Smallville. So it's more of a Clark Kent story than a Superman one. It's more like Clark Kal-El being Clark Kent before him turning to Superman. So it starred Tom Welling as Clark Kent, Kristen Crook as Lana Lang, Erica Durance. Still think the hottest Lois Lane. Nothing against Bitsy Tolak, but she's great as Lois, but Erica Durance is wow. Then Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor. So Smallville was established for quite a while, and lasted for 10 seasons. So it became more of like a Kal-El to Clark Kent story. How Kal-El or Clark growing up, his triumphs, his tragedies, in order for him to become Superman. Which is we can talk about Smallville in a later episode until season 10 when he finally became Superman. And how that story goes. So after Smallville ended, one of the characters from Smallville, Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, played by Justin Hartley, he was asked by right now from UPN to WB Network to CW, so they changed channel names. They asked Justin Hartley if you were creating Arrow, a new universe. It's either a new universe for universe different from the Smallville universe? And Justin Hartley said no. So they cast is casted, they just cast Green Arrow or Arrow Oliver Queen by an actor named Stephen Amell, who is also a die-hard wrestling fan, like all of us nerds here. So he played Arrow, and they made Arrow more like the Batman of the Arrowverse or the TV universe of DC. He's rich, he has like, he's brooding, he has the playboy charisma, and of course there's the hero. So for the Arrow TV series, it created the Arrowverse. Spun out, spin a lot of spin-offs came from the show. So Green Arrow or the Arrow show was more of like a grounded superhero because back then the Dark Knight became increasingly popular of being a grounded superhero, no superpowers and whatnot. Although it changed in a while, but because of development, you have to evolve. Everything has to evolve. So Arrow is more of like a grounded superhero, like I said, Batman. Then, uh, like I said, few shows span out from Arrow. Season two, that's when they cast Grant Gustin, the guy from Glee, to play Barry Allen, also known as the Flash. So that's the first spin-off. Then couple of TV shows spin-off: Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Batwoman, and the last spin-off from the Arrowverse, Superman and Lois. So what's great about the Arrowverse is, like I said, when I was a fan growing up, everything changed. I mean, Smallville was great. Although the story of Smallville for gradual, season by season of development is when when Superman fly or when Clark finally learn how to fly, because it's like that's the last power that he was who wasn't able to unlock yet. But for Arrow it's different because the story of Arrow, like I said, it's more grounded. And Warner Brothers, who partially owned or at least uh, more than 50% owned CW Network, he said that's fine. You can use any character. So they even use Ra's al Ghul or Ras al Ghul, Deathstroke, who else? Cupid, a lot of the villains, King Shark, Gorilla Grodd. They were able to use it in the Arrowverse. Um, and if I'm going to compare this, the DC versus Marvel rivalry, Marvel of course trumped, DC movies, the Snyderverse and whatnot. But as far as comic books at the time, television shows, DC was killing it. Even animation, they were killing it. They were, beating Marvel in my opinion, because they're producing more great show or great content. Arrow, the show Arrow lasted, if I believe, 8 seasons. Uh, it was, I believe, it's also the first in a weird way. It's the Arrowverse because even though they're trying to call it the CW verse, but it doesn't really, roll on the tongue. Arrowverse, it's still Arrowverse. It's the first even show that got, you know, canceled by the CW because I guess at the time, DC or Warner Brothers and CW are, talking of, we're trying to diverse more. We're not going to continue the TV shows anymore. I believe Flash also lasted for 8 seasons. Legends of Tomorrow lasted 6. Batgirl lasted 2, as well as Black Lightning. Stargirl, I believe, lasted for 3 seasons. Although Stargirl is more of in a different, it's more of like an HBO show compared to a CW one. But they're like had a mini crossover or something. Then the last show that was even created was Superman and Lois because Superman and Lois, when they had a guesting at one of the spin-off show, not the spin-off, crossover shows at the time for for the Arrowverse, no, Elseworld. Yeah, there were uh they had a guesting. They had a cameo in the Elseworld crossover for the Arrowverse. Fans were like, "Hey, this is great. We can do a Superman and Lois TV show," and they were able to do it. 4 seasons, lasted 4 seasons long. And it's also an impressive show. For a Superman TV show, it's really, really impressive that some even fans who didn't like the casting of Tyler, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Hochlin or Hetchlin, Hitchlin or something. Tyler, let's just call him Tyler. Um, he when they cast him, it's like, oh, why did they cast him? He doesn't look like Clark. Although the facial structure is there, the strong jaw is there, they didn't like him because of his facial hair. That it's like whenever he shaves, it's like the hair, facial hair is there. The 5 o'clock shadow is there. But he embodied the character of Clark and Superman at the same time. It's really impressive. I mean, Stephen Amell's Arrow was great. Grant Gustin was a little bit Spider-Man-ish for the as the Flash is concerned. Supergirl, of course. Um, but when they cast Tyler and Bitsy Tulloch as Lois Lane, it was like really like a really, really impressive cast, and uh CGI was even great, better. I like the cinematography of the show, despite it being a Superman story. It's really a grounded story as well, because uh of how they made the show. That Superman and Lois are already married with 2 kids, and one of the also the best thing for the Arrowverse is they were able to cross over the shows. It's like if it's a Marvel in the Marvel universe, the Infinity Saga, like I said, believe I said it once that or a couple of times that the Marvel movies for the Infinity Saga they made it like one TV series, just like Arrowverse, because see after season 2 of Arrow, they have Barry Allen did guesting. Then he got struck by lightning, became the Flash. Then first season of the Flash, third season of Arrow, they have the first crossover because they're already superheroes now. So it's just Flash versus Arrow. Then the following season, it's the Legends of Tomorrow that was created uh, with a lot of heroes teaming up. You have White Canary, Sarah Lance. You have Firestorm, villains that became good guys. Heatwave and Captain Cold from the Flash. They had Atom. They had the Hawk people, Hawkman and Hawk Girl. So it became like a mini Justice League of their own. Then after that story, after that crossover, the following, I believe this is like by year crossover now. They had Crisis on Earth X, which like an evil Justice League of Nazis, attacking, uh, Prime Earth or Earth One, and it's like the first major crossover of like all the superheroes at the time. Batwoman wasn't there yet. Um, Black Lightning wasn't there yet. Stargirl wasn't there, but Supergirl was already there. They already did the crossover because back then CBS had the Supergirl show then before transferring to the CW. Then after Crisis on Earth X, the following year they had Elseworlds, which set up for their biggest crossover afterwards, Crisis on Infinite Earths. So they did this crossover, across the TV shows, and it made actually good TV ratings. It made good TV show. I mean, in the Crisis on Infinite Earths alone, they brought back Brandon Routh, although he's already playing Atom in the Arrowverse. They made him Superman again, the Superman that he was way back in no, sorry, 2006, 2007, 2006. And they even made him like the Kingdom Come style Superman, which is really also a great homage. John Cryer was Lex Luthor. Then he was jumping around universe. He met Tom Welling, Superman. So the Arrowverse was really intact. They really opened the multiverse story for this one. Um, I like I said, I like the Snyderverse. I like Tim Nolan. Sorry, Christopher Nolan story or universe as well. But there was a point when Stephen Amell was a guest on the an Insight with Chris Van Vliet, and he said that what there was a specific period of time that most fans, comic book fans, casual fans, they weren't really talking about the Snyderverse because the only time they were talking about the Snyderverse is more in a negative aspect of because executives are, you know, getting in between production for Zack Snyder's universe. But most of the fans are talking or were talking about the Arrowverse of what crossover will happen this season or whatnot. And just most TV shows, there are like good seasons to bad seasons. I can say recommend that the best seasons for Arrow is season 1, season 2, season 5, and season 8. I'm not saying don't watch 3, 4, and 6 and 7. They were okay. They weren't really that great. Season 3 was, okay in the beginning, but it went to nowhere afterwards. But that's the seasons I can recommend for people or for fans, even if you want to try the Arrow show. 1, 2, 5, and 8. The 8 is the last one, and I believe they only have like 8 episodes as well. Before shutting down production or canceling the show. Flash is almost the same. I forgot which, but season 1 and season 2 of the Flash were great as well. Season 3 is also great as well, if you ask me. Um, but that's the thing. That's why ratings wise, the Arrowverse was actually a success, if you ask me, to the CW network. Then of course, earlier this side of the decade, WB Network or Warner Brothers Media or Warner Media decided that what, we're cutting ties with CW, we're selling our share to Next Star, I believe, and yeah, we're shutting down the superhero DC shows because we're moving forward with the James Gunn hiring as the CEO for DC Universe or DCU Films or DCU Studios to create more content for DC. It's either for HBO or Max or TNT or TBS networks, whatever. But James Gunn is focusing more on the movie side of the universe as well as in the Max series. So they're like, that we're shutting down the DC shows of the CW network, like I said, ending with Superman and Lois. Um, so we have to pay the respect. We have to give the respect and our enthusiasm with liking these TV shows because yeah, there were times that season one, this season is bad, this season is good. Like I said, most TV shows are that. Friends are the Friends, TV show, the sitcom Friends. Though they have great 10 seasons, but there are like seasons that fans didn't like as well. Just most like TV shows. Just most like a wrestling season even. And right now, like I said, after ending, the Arrowverse, I believe CW is focusing more on drama and live entertainment like WWE. They had NXT. They have NXT now. So yeah, as of yesterday, Monday night yesterday, or Tuesday morning here, uh, officially the DC Arrowverse is already ended for the CW for TV shows. We can watch on Max. Most of the shows here in Manila, they're on Netflix, the Max streaming app, and Prime Video. Prime Video, they have all seasons of Arrow, which most of the time, every time I toggle, try to watch it. But I'm on Shock right now, which is a different TV show. It's a great TV show, one of my favorites. Um, I haven't really seen the full fourth season of 10 episodes, fourth season of Superman and Lois. I was just browsing. I might probably watch it during the holidays. I will binge watch 10 episodes, as well as the Penguin, which I haven't seen yet. But I browsed through the last episode of Superman and Lois. I believe I just fast forwarding to stuff. But the last 5 minutes, 10 to 5 minutes of Superman and Lois, if there's such thing as a perfect ending, it was the perfect ending. How super I know it's just for the entire Superman and Lois show, but it's like, it's a great story of how Superman or Clark Kent tells his story of how he ended. I found it similar with this storyline from the Green Lantern comic book earlier for the new 52, I believe. It's like, was it the Rise? It's the Rat of the First Lantern. That's the storyline. And the last 5, 6, 7 pages of it was like Green Lantern, Hal Jordan telling his story, how he lived and how he passed away. Even that's that's the cultural impact. And Superman and Lois did the same thing. It's like if I'm going to compare it, It's like the Avengers Endgame ending when Tony Stark recorded himself saying goodbye to his family, to his friends and family, to his wife, to his daughter. It's similar with that. And I was like the last 10 minutes I was tearing up a bit because even for me as a comic book fan, it's definitely an end of an era. Of course, like I said, being a comic book fan growing up, I only wanted to see this and in my lifetime of how uh cartoons, comic books came to life or come to life. Because as a fan growing up, I was that person. Probably my son too, my eldest son, because he likes the video game Sonic the Hedgehog, and in his lifetime, he finally saw what if Sonic, you know, is in a live action, although CGI, in a live action environment. And I'm happy that he's happy because he's watching the cartoons. He watched the movies, the first two movies, and we're planning to watch it in January for Sonic 3. And I'm happy about that because that's part of their lifetime, and for me, this is part of my lifetime. This part of the side of my life that, oh, these are the things that I only read, I only watched in cartoons, and now they're in live action. I know it's fictional, but if you are a fan like myself, I'm not talking just about being a consumer of buying things, a viewer, a reader. You'll get what I'm getting. You can get what I'm trying to point out. Uh, if you ask me the perfect endings, if there's such thing as a word as perfect, the perfect endings for movies was this one: Superman and Lois ending, Avengers Endgame, and even the Deadpool and Wolverine. The end credits where they're like looking at the behind the scenes, of the Fox movies or Marvel movies, Daredevil, X-Men, Fantastic Four. It's like saying goodbye. And like I said, I was a bit emotional when I'm watching, listening to, how Clark tells his story. I'm not gonna spoil, but if you ask me if there's such thing as a perfect ending for a superhero show, it's that one. I get goosebumps, by just talking about it. And I mean, trying even hard, trying difficult, I'm finding it difficult, a little bit difficult to point out because it was really, really a great ending, perfect even. I We don't even know when the next live superhero TV show will come out. Um, because for executives and studios, it's easier to do an animation. If you listen to Talkville, the podcast for Smallville by Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, they're planning for an animation for continuation of Smallville. Tyler Hoechlin said as well, yeah, if they want us to continue as an animation, I'm go for it. I'm all for it. I can go for it. Yeah, why not? It's also being rumored that the Blue Beetle, uh, Solo Marindueña of Cobra Kai, he will reprising Blue Beetle as an animation and not a movie anymore, a TV series even because it's easier to do cartoons and easier for even those actors to do voice acting because you're just they're in a studio just talking. That's it. Of course, they're acting as well. But as far as live, yeah, we'll be getting Superman for the DC universe. We'll be getting Superman next year, and that's the only thing they said that we have so far for the DC for the James Gunn universe. Although this coming Thursday, tomorrow, the first full DCU or DC Films, DC Studios programming Creatures Commando for an animation will start tomorrow at Max and the Max app streaming site. Um, Although they established that Blue Beetle was like the first superhero for that, but they didn't. It's not really part of there. It's still part of the Snyderverse. So half of it's Snyderverse, half of it's James Gunn's. But as far as the Arrowverse, like I said, we have said goodbye yesterday. Sure, it's weird because even for me, if like one show is ending, and I normally tell people it's fine. it's already like immortalized. They're already immortalized. Stephen Amell's already immortalized as Green Arrow. Grant Gustin is already immortalized as the Flash. People are even saying that Grant Gustin's Flash is better than Ezra's Flash. Yeah, in a way, yeah, because he's been doing it for like much longer than Ezra's. Although it's like the same 10 years, but the Flash is doing that year by year. So it's really like difficult in a way that, oh, okay, this is ending. Like I said, being a comic book fan, a superhero fan, superhero movies, TV shows, it's really difficult even for me to say, this is it, this is the end. Um, I it was a great perfect ending. It was a perfect universe for me. If there's like I know there's no such thing as perfect in the world, but if I'm going to sum it to almost perfect, the Arrowverse is almost perfect as a superhero universe. And I hope that most fans like me understand it, that there's that potential that this might not happen again. It might and it might not. Nobody really knows. Um, I salute the showrunners. I salute the staff and the crew. I salute the actors themselves, the directors, the producers for the entire Arrowverse run, starting with Smallville, ending with Superman and Lois, which is ironically the Arrowverse. If we're going to include Smallville, they started with Smallville and they ended with Superman and Lois. It was a great run. I don't think that fans should be, sad. Yeah, it's okay to be sad about that, especially if you're a diehard comic book fan. But like I said, being immortalized, that we can see this in Netflix, the Max app, uh, Prime Video, and whatnot. They're still there. The times that don't want to watch this TV show, go back and watch the Arrowverse. I mean, you'll be entertained. I don't think you will say it's a boring show. Most even the I used to have the supervisor that I was a friend with in when I was working at a department store, and he was a fan. He was a fan of Smallville. He was like, "Hey, he calls me Kiko. Hey, Kiko, have you seen the Smallville yesterday?" And like, no, what? What's the story? It's about the Justice League, the mini Justice League show or episode. It's like Clark with Arthur Curry, Oliver Queen, Victor Stone, and Bart Allen. So I'm like, oh, really? So I started to begin watching and being a fan of Smallville afterwards, and I used to have the DVDs, and now I have it in all 10 seasons in Prime Video, and I became a fan of Smallville because back then for me it was like Clark Kent meets Dawson's Creek. But yeah, I was right away in a way, and I was wrong in a way as well. But for me, saying goodbye to the Arrowverse is, hard, it's difficult, but it is what it is. Like everything, we just need to look forward to the future, and hopefully the future is hopeful. Remember, a guy who's wearing an S in his chest, saying it's not really an S, but it's a symbol for hope in Kryptonian, and I believe so. So I'm not really that sad. I'm sad to say, there I can't wait for next year because I used to do that when Arrow season 1 ended. I became a fan. Ooh, can't wait for season 2. Ooh, can't wait for season 3 until there's no more season to wait for. And that, my friends, for me, is the legacy of the Arrowverse in terms of comic book TV show, superhero TV show, and whatnot. The impact that they had in pop culture. It's a huge part of pop culture, if you ask me, because a lot of fans even demanded that they want to see this type of TV shows. So yeah, that's it for me. For the Pop and Wrestling Podcast Arrowverse edition. So tune in tomorrow. I don't know what topic we can talk about. Probably an AEW topic tomorrow. So whatever I feel like to. Like I said, my show is authentic. I don't plan. I plan this in my head. I don't have a script. I don't have anything to read on. I don't have idiot boards or whatnot, teleprompters. I just say what's on my brain, what's on my mind. But yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate. Now I'm happy to say 35 episodes. We have 1,200 plus viewers are all across the 35 episodes. We're keep growing. We're keep stronger. I have now 20 subscribers, and thank you very much. Really grateful about you guys about this. I'm not saying goodbye so far because yeah, have a happy holidays. Have your know if you have an exam this week for students, study. My kids are going to have their second periodical exam this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Saturday I'm going to be a bit busy. I might not do a TV an episode because planning to watch Moana 2 with my daughters. So but yeah, thank you guys for the support, the views here at the Pop and Wrestling Podcast with me, Coach 23, where we talk about pro wrestling, pop culture, and life in general. As far as the Arrowverse is concerned, I salute you guys. Goodbye, and long live the Arrowverse.